Hello everyone and welcome back to my chatty, sassy channel here on YouTube where we talk about all things luxury, be it luxury fashion, luxury travel, or life's luxuries in general. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is the biggest in vogue trends for fall 2024 and how I use my current wardrobe that I have to achieve those trends. And at the end, I'll be giving my overall tips for how to bring your current collection and how to go about adding pieces to make these trends items that you will love forever. So let's start out with the very first trend that has been everywhere, and that's the color red. Now, there are a whole lot of different colors of red, but I think overall the darker, deeper reds have been what is really appealing to people right now. And I think that this is because when it's not such a bright red, when it's one of those deeper reds, one, I think it looks a lot richer. Two is that I think that when you have those bright reds, it's easier to get tired of the pieces faster. And so I think that one of the ways to do this trend really well is in red bags and shoes. Now, I do not have any red shoes. Red is not my best color. And so because of that, I don't have any red shoes. I do have red bottom shoes, however. So I think that if you are looking for a touch of red in your shoes, going with something like a Louboutin that has that red bottom sole is going to be a really good option to bring in a touch of red to your footwear. But also red bags. I have 3 different red bags that I love, and they're 3 different shades of red. So we have my Strathberry Sarah Jessica Parker collab. This is a much brighter red, and while I love this bag, if I had to pick a red out of my bags, this would definitely not be the one that I would be aiming for the most, because it is much harsher because it is a brighter red. And so because of that, I'm the least drawn to it out of the 3 colors that I have. The deepest of my reds is going to be this maroon burgundy mock croc from Strathberry in the East West. Now, I've talked about at length how I love this bag and how I love this finish. I think that this is a very affordable option to do for a red bag because it's very beautiful, it's very classic, it's not glaring, but I will say that it's not as red as what the trend necessarily is. So this is something that kind of touches that trend, but doesn't go all the way into it. So if you aren't a red person, going with a burgundy, going with a Merlot is going to give you a little bit of that trend without pushing you too far past your comfort zone. But the piece that I think really hits the nail on the head for me with the red trend is my red reissue walk that I got from Fashionphile. Now, I did not buy this because of the red trend that was going on this fall. That was the furthest thing from my mind. The whole reason I was even looking at a red or burgundy walk is because this color is something that is so versatile in my collection and that I wear all the time that I knew that going with a deeper red would give me that same feeling, would give me that same versatility. And it just so happens that it's the color of the season. So that's going to be tip number 1, is don't buy something because it's a trend, buy it because you love it. And eventually it's going to hit a trend. Red is a color that comes around every few years. And so if it is a shade of red that you really love that you're going to use, you're going to be able to use it year after year after year. And when red eventually cycles back in, you're still going to have that bag, that pair of shoes, that jacket to pull out and use. Now, another big trend for this year has definitely been the safari style jackets. I got my jacket from Beretta in New York. If you watched my video from, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago now, where I talked about items that I didn't get, I now have this jacket because my husband watched that video, called Beretta, and ordered it for me. I think that this is a great jacket, but it's a classic jacket. This is a classic cut of a jacket. It's a classic color. This is something that's not going to go out of style next season, in 5 years, in 10 years time, when people aren't wearing these jackets because of the cut of it. And I think that that's a really important thing to note when buying clothing. Beretta is known for their hunting rifles, so they are going to have a lot of things. They're sort of safari related, safari tangential, that you are going to be able to go and find at any point, but you're still going to be able to continuously wear because they are not producing it for a trend, they're producing it for longevity. And so that's tip number 2, is look for brands that this is their style anyway. Now, I mentioned cut. the biggest cut that I've been seeing in outerwear is cropped this year. So I have my YSL cropped blazer. I got this last year, well before the crop trend was really a thing. Why do I recommend this? Because it's a flattering cut. And so if you are someone who's looking for things to elongate your silhouettes, going with cropped things are going to give you that silhouette. So find silhouettes that work for you and utilize the trend in order to find more options. Because there are so many things that are cropped, if a cropped silhouette really works for you, which it works for a lot of people because it really elongates things, it's going to be a really great time for you to find a piece to invest in that fits you very well to wear year after year, even when the trend is gone. So that is tip number 3, is take advantage of trends to find what fits you and be able to buy it from a lot of different options. Now, when it comes to fabrics of things, there are 2 prevailing fabrics that are on very different ends of the spectrum. First off is going to be suede, second off is going to be sheer. So very heavy, very light. And the pieces that I have in my wardrobe are on 2 different ends of the spectrum for this. So the first piece that I have that is a very much rough out suede, because the thing that I oftentimes don't like about suede is that, one, I'm only going to wear it in the winter, but like with most places in the South, it rains a lot in the winter and it rains a lot in the fall. And so by going with a rough out suede, this is going to be a material that's going to wear very, very well. And I went ahead way before I knew that suede was going to be a thing, and back in January invested in a piece that I was going to wear year after year, that as I wear it year after year is going to age extremely well. So this for me was an investment piece. But I knew that I liked rough out suede. Fabric that I've never been too sure on for me is sheer. That is why I picked this top from S. Deer that has the sheer puffy sleeves, because sheer and puff has been a really big thing this year. And so for this, I went with something that wasn't going to be that investment piece level of cost, because of the fact that I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it or not. And while I do like this piece, and I have already worn it a couple of times, I'm glad that I didn't spend investment money on this, because this is not something that I'm going to want to have forever. I don't think that this is going to be a style that I'm going to enjoy wearing forever. And so that's tip number, I guess we're up to 4 now, is to decide what trends you want now and what trends you're going to want to last. And invest in the trends that you've always loved. Find ways to save on the trends that you just want to try. Now, the one really big trend that I don't have in my collection, and so I'm looking at adding, is going to be leopard. Now, I've always really loved leopard, but I've never found the piece that's really worked for me. So as I'm going through and looking at leopard pieces, I've had to decide, what have I seen leopard on other people that I've really loved that I think would work well in my collection? And so that's going to be tip number 5, is that whenever you are looking at something that has not worked for you in the past, or that you don't have a lot of, is look to see what pieces you're drawn to on other people in that trend. For me, it has been the leopard maxi dresses. So we had Claire from Claire Louise Luxe, who wore a gorgeous leopard print dress in New York for our Fashion File visit. I was at a meeting. The president of the particular group that I was at the meeting for, when she was presenting, she was wearing a gorgeous leopard print maxi dress. I saw some leopard print maxi dresses that Cassie Thorpe was looking at in her latest vlog. And so that's sort of the thing that I'm overly drawn to with leopard. I've also been really drawn to leopard on suede and to leopard on pony hair. And I thought that the leopard on suede and leopard on pony hair, that the print really stood out well. So those are things that I'm considering adding, but I'm taking my time to find the piece that's going to be right for me. I've happened to find a jacket that was from last year, or maybe 2 years ago now, because I think it was 2022, from YSL that was a leopard suede. I'm now looking at that jacket, using my husband as an excuse to potentially get it, for him to have that jacket and me to be able to steal, because it's a wonderful material that he and I would both appreciate. I'm also looking at pony hair that's not going to be from YSL, because YSL classes pony hair as an exotic. That's more than I want to invest in this trend. And so I'm looking at, okay, what other contemporary brands are going to be doing pony hair in shoes and in bags and in belts, that maybe I could pull in an accessory of leopard instead of doing a full leopard look. And so I'm wanting to add the right piece to help bring some fun to my collection, but also be usable at a price I'm comfortable with. And that is tip number 6, is to make sure to never spend above what makes you comfortable. There is a YSL pony hair bag that I love that is gorgeous in pony hair leopard, but it's too much for what I'm comfortable spending on this trend. And so because I know my limit, I'm not going to buy that bag because it crosses that threshold for me. Now, the final trend that I want to touch on is in accessories, and that is big chunky jewelry. So going down the runway for spring summer of 2025, I saw a lot of chunky jewelry, but I also know that a lot of chunky jewelry is being worn now, particularly in the form of bangles. And I have 2 great ones. Mine are both from David Yurman, various levels of thickness and chunk. And this one, my husband was able to get for just a few $100, pre-loved. This one I inherited. And so I think that these are 2 great options. I think that it's also a great option to look pre-loved at David Yurman for some older chunky styles that you can find at really good prices. I think if you're wanting to go new in store, a very classic one, if you're looking for higher end, is going to be the Elsa Preti bone cuff. That is something that I've looked at before for myself that just doesn't really work on me. And so because of that, that's why that's not living in my collection, but I do know that it's a piece that a lot of people really love, and it's very classic, so it's not going to go out of style. I also think that this is an area where non-designer costume jewelry can be really great. I think that chunky pieces, because the sterling silver, because the gold pieces, when you have that much metal, are going to be very expensive. Looking for a trendy costume jewelry piece at TJ Maxx, at local boutiques, is going to be a great way to do this trend in a way that doesn't break the bank, allows you to have fun with it, but then not feel bad about it if you don't want to use it anymore afterwards. So that is my final tip, is not to discount boutique costume jewelry when it comes to these jewelry trends, but stay away from the designer costume jewelry where you'd be paying as much for the real silver and gold pieces as you oftentimes do for those luxury brand costume pieces. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, everyone. I hope that this has given you some comfort in terms of how you're going about pursuing those trendy pieces for fall 2024, and then you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more luxury content, make sure to hit that red subscribe button down below. Bye!